We're talking to Clark Mills. Now, Mr. Mills, for the last 10 years, I have been pestered with little kids that have been sailing Optimist Prams in regattas all over the place. And I understand this is all your fault.
Well, it's not quite that way because it was quite a group of locals. It was same breed of cat as I am.
But you were primarily responsible for designing the Optimist Pram
Oh, yeah,
50 years ago.
Oh yeah, I have to take the blame for that.
What prompted you to design a small boat?
I'll tell you just exactly how that little boat came about.
Good.
I had a little shop up in Dunedin.
Mm-hmm.
I lived here in Clearwater, but it's only 2 miles up there. That's because I bought a friend of his shop. He wanted to move to Ozona,
Uh-huh.
Water Prior. He wanted to do a little different kind of thing, but he offered his shop for a price that I had the money. I had to have it. Okay, I got the shop and I bought 2 or 3 nice little machines, and I'm happy. But I ain't got any damn jobs. No, things were bad back then. Right after the war, man, everything was stuck in the middle.
So were you in the boat business, or you were a woodworker?
It was a boat shop.
All right.
I took my spray gun and put on the front of the building, Clark Mills Boat Shop, and everybody thought that was a terrible sign. Well, it was. Well, I not much for advertising. I'd rather not get bothered by too many.
So somehow the Optimist came up.
Yeah, he phoned me.
This was the guy. Now the Optimist was a club.
The Optimist is a international service club. They had the clout to put this over, and remember that because I can't get the newspaper people to realize that how many people worked on this thing in the beginning.
But this was meant as an activity for the local kids here?
Right. And he said, I've been talking. I went to his office because he asked me to come up and see him.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 or 3 blocks, I got on my bicycle and went up there. And he said, I was a guest speaker. He was a Rotarian. I was a guest speaker at the Optimist. And they're talking about their coasting down a hill on a soapbox.
Soapbox derby stuff.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he says they wanted me to talk to him. And I told him, I says, well, I think that Ernie Green's got the idea. You ought to get some little boats. He says, this place is famous for a good champion sailing. And he says, there are all these expert sailors and old gentlemen that are waiting for the youth to get with the program. He says, you got a wonderful, wonderful bunch of little bays and sounds. And you ain't got no hills worth building no wagons to close down. He says, why don't you forget that? So he says, I got him kind of wound up in a different direction. And he says, I want to know, can you draw me a plan for a little boat that a boy and his daddy could build in their garage or carport? He says, a cheap little boat. He says, a little canvas or tin or, anyway, cheap. Don't let it cost over $50. I says, whoa, hey, $50. That's about what a good canoe paddle costs these days.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you can get a good canoe paddle for $50.
Probably not.
Well, I told him, well, I just don't know, Major, but I sure would love to try. I just couldn't get my mind off a little Sharpie, a little sharp-nosed, flat-bottom boat,
Uh-huh.
There's a whole lot of sailing skiffs and Sharpies that sail really nice for the money invested. But after you run the price or the stuff down, you run it up more like twice.
All the way
And
up
it
to
all,
$100.
right.
Right.
And all of a sudden it all come to me. This boat, if it's going to be built out of plywood, you just got to keep this plywood at 8-foot lengths, because the minute you go over 8 foot, the price.
Because that's the length of a piece of plywood.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
And there was a nice old gentleman had a little builder supply company right across the street from me. And I went over to see if he had some good plywood. I had some good plywood, but it was 16 and 20 feet long. I didn't want to cut it in. And these people didn't want to spend no money. And I was twixt in a hard spot and a lump, and I thought, there's going to be 8-foot plywood. And while my feeble mind was racking around, I said, well, it's got to be all 8-foot plywood. Every damn board in here has got to be 8 foot, because this boat won't stand anything but the very least. I thought, well, if a Sharpie is all that good, just cut the nose off of it and design it like a pram and let it go. So it all kind of come together after second night, and I threw all that paper away, and we run up there with a little paper about the third night. I showed the major. He said, "That's just what we want. Exactly what we want." And he says, "Can you build one of these by the next Optimist meeting?" I said, "When is that?" He said, "Well, it'll be about 3 weeks." Oh, I said, "Well, if I can't, well," I says, "I'll just have to sell out and start something else."
If you couldn't do it in 3 weeks.
I'm starving. I'm the meanest boat builder, And I'm gonna have these boats, and he's gonna promote them for the kids to learn to sail in. And his plan is to have the merchants sponsor a boy. If a boy's dad can't handle it, why, he can get a sponsor, one of the merchants, and he'll be allowed to paint his logo on the side of the boat.
Oh, early advertising and sailing.
Oh, he was right on it. And all this come right off the top of that man's head right at that meeting.
Uh-huh.
And that's exactly what we did. And everything just clicked, and it was no time at all. We had about 16 or 20 of those little rascals sailing out there in the bay. They were rough compared to what you're seeing now.
Well, sure.
Well, they were.
Now, what was the inspiration for the rig on it? Instead of having just a conventional boom and a mast, you have a spar.
That seems to be Haggerty's idea. It's got to have a hollow spar and everything. Well, that wasn't my idea, because that was to get rid of the damn bucks, see? It had to be $50.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I was selling a complete sailboat for $42.50 without paint and without sails.
Right.
But it had the rudder, the fittings. I bent up the rudder fittings out of little stainless steel straps. Stick a piece of fence wire down there, 1/4-inch wire. They sail fine, had no trouble.
So you could buy a boat for $42.
$42.50.
And 50 cents. Well, that was your profit.
Oh no, I think I came out about $12 for the boat.
So you were making a lot of money per hour on these.
Yeah, at that time. Now you couldn't even feed your cat on it. Anyway, everybody asked me about how come that split rig. I says, well, I figured that most of these boats that somebody's mother was going to sew the sail on. I said, you can lay out a sail, just straight lines. No ropes, no darts, no fiddly diddly with all that draft and stuff. And it's a powerful little sail, and it's worked on everything it's been on for years and years. It's proved to be a real useful rig. think you can sew a leg of mutton sail easier, you'll mess that up every time.
So you did it because it was easy to sew that sail up,
That's the main reason. And everything was 8 feet long.
even on the sail.
Everything. There was
Every-
no damn
everything
thing
was
in there that was over 18.
Oh, I got you.
And it wasn't but a year or so later, I got a letter from a guy over in France. He wanted to know. And I thought, I guess I'm the simplest son of a bitch in the world. I just took what we had. That's the only way.
It was-
When you ain't got money, you got to do it that way.
So it was just a matter of practicality.
Well, yeah,
You're
I
just
know.
doing what worked.
Just had to do it that way, or there wouldn't have been no Pram.
Well, that,
Jesus Christ, you know what it is to do it when you can't do it. When you that's the way it
I
is.
think that's amazing.
It is. It's just.
What do you think when you look out on this bay and see all these optimists everywhere?
Well,
You must be really proud.
I'm happy to have been with it. They had fun, and
I tell you,
a whole lot of people did a whole lot of work, and
well,
just my end of it was the fun part, really.
Well,
you know.
I'll tell you, your inspiration has given enjoyment to hundreds of thousands of kids, and
Well,
it's
that's just so nice to be part of that. I'm satisfied with any little bit that I can get. You know, I didn't make no money.
your design has opened up the world of sailing to an enormous number of people, and I want to thank you for doing that, and I also want to thank you for talking to us.
Just took what we had. That's the only way. When you ain't got money, you got to do it that way.
So it was just a matter of practicality.
Well, yeah,
You're just doing what worked.
Just had to do it that way, or there wouldn't have been no Pram.